So I'm 15 and a half years old, and I've never been outside of the country, which sounds like white people problems, but I desperately wanted to leave the country, so for me it was a really big deal. And my father, we didn't have a lot of money, but my father was a professor. He's a doctor and a professor, and he had this friend who had a friend who lived in France. And his friend of a friend had a 15-and-a-half-year-old daughter. So they thought, all right, we'll give our kids a little thrill. You send your daughter here for two weeks, and then I'll send her to France for 2 weeks. And I was like fucking stoked because I was super in love with Dick Van Dyke. And at the time, I thought that Dick Van Dyke was doing a French accent in Mary Poppins, not a British one. So I was like, these are my people. They're going to sing and dance. Everything's going to be amazing. So I was like living large. I was so excited. And this chick was coming out to stay with me. And I've done okay. I've never been popular, but I've always kind of skated by on like humor and quirky faces. Like that was kind of my thing. So I knew that, you know, the American subtleties of humor, like falling down or fart noises, would translate surely. So she came out and she was stunning. She was 15 and a half years old, and this bitch was like 7 feet tall. She weighed like 18 pounds. She had this beautiful pixie haircut. And she was like lovely. Oh, there's more haircuts, guys. Don't worry. She was lovely, and she smoked. And I was like, what? That's crazy. And my parents didn't yell at her because she wasn't their kid. And we took that bitch everywhere. Like Southern California, I live in LA, I was born and raised. We took her to Santa Monica, Venice, Universal City, Disneyland, Magic Mountain. Every lame touristy thing we took her to. And everywhere we went, she was like, eh. Just like that was, eh. Like everything was like, oh, did you like Malibu? Eh, we have that in the friends. I was like, oh, okay. And I tried desperately to win her over. And we just got more, and then it was like, okay, let's go out of city. Like, let's go to Santa Barbara. Let's go to San Diego. Like, let's really impress this girl. And she was unimpressible. So then I was sent almost immediately to France. And I was like, it's okay, though, because we, like, put in the time. My poor mother drove us around, 15 and a half. Like, she was not having it. But she took us everywhere. Surely her parents would do the same thing. So I fly for the first time by myself to France, and that airport is filled with lizard people who don't help you. So I got there and I had no idea. They weren't at the gate, and I was like, this was like pre 9/11. It was like a different time, and they weren't there. And I was like, oh, what do I do? So I sat on my bags for like 3 hours. And then finally, I called my mom, Colette. She was not happy. And she gave me the number for them. So I called them, and they were like, oh, usually American flights are so late. So we'll leave now. And they live like 3 hours away from Paris, the Paris airport. So I was there forever. I made some great friends, probably got herpes. But they finally show up, and I'm like, this is the dream. It's all coming together. It's going to be great. Marion did not want to do anything. Like, I was a nuisance. I was a gnat on the wall. She made no effort to take me anywhere or show me the culture. She just wanted to hang out with her boyfriend, who was 24. At the time, I thought that was like chic, and now it's just kind of like rapey. But we would go to his house. We didn't have cars. I couldn't drive in France. We would go to his house, and they would get into these like screaming fights that I think that they mistook it for romanticism and passion, but really it was like sad, and they would just throw things at each other. And I would sit there all the time, and I whatever I said, they would look at me as though I was like this thing that was growing out of their face. Like, they were so disgusted by me. Humor did not translate. And for the first time in my life, I felt a desperate need to be loved. And at one point, Marion thought it would be funny to give me a haircut. And normally I would say no, because I hate my looks and people touching with my looks and screwing with that. I had kind of a neutral thing going on. I wanted to keep that going. And she was like, no, I'll make you look like an American TV star. And I was like, all right, like, will you love me, please? So we're at her boyfriend's house. I wear one of his old farm shirts, and she gives me this haircut. Turns out her French version of American TV star is Punky Brewster. So I got these crazy, like, chopped, they put them in pigtails, chopped it up, and then straight across bangs, which I'm still trying to grow out, by the way. It did not go well, and I was like the worst. Like I had gone from like kind of lame to like this pathetic prop they could drag around. And at the end, it was like the second to last day in Paris, and Marion said, we're going to a farm party. And I was like, okay, what's a farm party? Turns out it's exactly what you think it is. So we go to this farm party. Nobody's talking to me. I look absurd. And her boyfriend, Jacob, got into this huge fight again. And Jacob hit Marion, which, like, I didn't love Marion, but I was like, you do not hit a woman. Like, my mama taught me right. So I immediately get in between them. And he says, stay out of it. And Marion gone. She could not have left faster. I was on my own. And I say, back the fuck off. I'm 15 and a half. It's like the first real swear word I had ever used. And he punches me in the face. And his huge, disgusting French rings got stuck in my hair. So he drags me down, and I'm like, get a rock, get a rock. I grab what I thought was a rock, but it was a farm, so it turns out it was just like a cow pellet or whatever. And I threw it at him, and it burst, which I'd never seen a rock burst before. And then the smell overcame both of us, and I knew what had happened. And he threw up on me. And then Marion has been gone for 14 seconds, and she comes back. We're both covered in puke. His hand is stuck in my hair, and I'm like, I hate France. I hate you. I want to go home. Thank you.